What's happening, guys?
Good evening, everyone.
Let's get this shared up on our pages real quick. Just us tonight, boys.
Figured we'd come on here and
girls.
tell everybody a little bit about ourselves and where we come from, what our mission is.
Some of our goals for this year in the season and as an organization with Avid Outdoorsman. Because we do have a lot of things in the work this year. I mean, when we're not at work, we're sitting here figuring out what we can do to make this thing boom. So, kind of go in depth about that. Like he said, kind of what our main goals are and just how we operate and things moving forward. So, let me get this shared up.
Flushing Outdoors, how's it going?
My man. Copy the link and then you can post it on the page. You know, I thought I was pretty decently tech savvy till we started doing this podcast. Now I feel like my grandfather. Paste. We are. Share this to every page.
So we'll start off here. Going well, just about ready for season. How about you guys?
Oh, we're preparing.
We're more than ready. Everything's dyed and waxed. Everything else is dyed. Everything's in totes. It's all ready to go. I got some buckets of peat moss, some buckets of waxed dirt, some buckets of dry dirt, baits, lures, everything's made up, ready to go for us. I just stopped out at JC Connors yesterday, picked up a few things that I needed from him, and other than that, we're really ready to go. I got a few other things I want to order, I guess. Nothing that needs, but some other stuff, I guess, that are some wants for us. But anyways, as the Avid Outdoorsman, our main mission is to get the youth involved and bring the attention, I guess, to trapping as a sport. I know back when the money was good in it, it was all the secrets were kept, and now that YouTube's around and everything, it gets pushed out a little more. So I do enjoy watching everybody's videos, especially some of the guys that have been involved for a long time.
Yeah.
But that's our goal. Our goal is to get more kids involved. Our goal is to get even adults, others who are not a part of it or do any trapping, even if they would like to tag along with us on our line or anything like that. That's what we're here for. It's not only in the trapping community. We are also deer hunters.
Sure.
We fish. I mean, it's everything outdoors. We're trying to get some things set up to where we can have kind of an outdoors venue set up to where we have a lot of hunters and fishers and trappers around, some targets, some trapping demos, all that kind of stuff set up. And it's pretty simple to an extent, but in the long run, it can leave a mark in the end.
That's what we're trying to do. I mean, we're trying to help everybody out. And we're not going to sit here and say that we're the best trappers in the world because, I mean, you can ask anybody we talk to, Logan, Dale, Colton. I mean, we're always asking for advice. And that's the thing. I mean, that's one thing we love about the trapping community, too, is we're so tight-knit that we're able to do that. I mean, our thing is just, like he said, passing it on and keeping the culture alive. I mean, whether it's the younger generation or even a deer hunter that's interested in maybe learning more about the animal, because that's one thing about trapping too is not only do you go out and collect some fur, but you really learn these animals. And that's the thing. I think that people that look down on trapping and think that, oh, we just want to go kill and this and that, they don't understand that. I mean, we know those animals better than anybody else on the face of this earth. I mean, that's what we do. And being able to pass that word down and get people educated on the sport, and like he said, anything outdoors. I mean, as we know, it's a dying breed, trappers especially. So just passing it on and educating people is what we want to do here.
Another thing, even tying into that a little bit, I had a phone call today. I talked to a guy for a few hours. I've never met this guy in my life. I do, in a way, know of him. I know him, I guess. But he called me today. He has hunted this spot for years. He shot multiple big bucks, and he hasn't had any on camera this year. So I went through a few basic things with him on where they could be, what their movements are, their pattern changes, food plots, minerals, the whole nine. And even though I'm not Michael Waddell, I'm not Tim Wells, nothing like that, but I do understand the animal. And I spoke with him for probably a good half hour, and there's a lot of things that he was going to change up, and I'm hoping that it helps him. Like, there's just little things like that. I'm not somebody who is against anything like that. If anybody ever needed anything, all you have to do is reach out to me on Facebook, or shoot us a text or call if you have our number, and ask the questions. Even if I don't personally know the answer, I most likely know somebody who does, yeah. And I can put you in that.
And like that comes into the next thing we're going to talk about, the things that we'll be doing and stuff. I mean, he already mentioned a little bit. We're going to be trying to put on at least 2 smaller conventions, I guess you can call them, per year. Probably, if that things go as planned, that'll probably be starting next year, 2023. That we'll have people like that. I mean, and this isn't just a strictly trapping or anything like that, but we'll have people that are very educated in doing food plots and bringing deer in and have demos and stuff at these places so people can explain that. And that, I mean, like goes back into the knowledge part. I mean, we're having those to be able to bring everything in and teach you guys and have people teach us things too. So, and then I should probably talk about some of the stuff that we'll be selling on our website and stuff when we get that up and running. Obviously, if you've been following us on our Facebook page, we are starting to come out with some apparel. First round, just T-shirts, and then we will be ordering hoodies and hats and possibly long sleeves as well here soon, coming in these winter months. Another thing we're going to want to try to do is have traps and stuff for sale on the website. Whether some are used traps or brand new traps. We are currently in the works of trying to get with Duke and some other suppliers to where we can get some pricing to where we can give them to you guys for a good price. Because it's not about the money for us, really. I mean, obviously we have to do what we can do to keep things afloat, but I mean, that's not our goal out of this. And then lastly, but we'll be making our own baits and lures. I mean, that's another big thing that we do. That's really one of our main things that we're trying to jump off and get going. So that's another thing that we'll have listed on our website.
And we are not any type of commercial bait dealer.
No.
We will be a small-time bait and lure dealer. So even when we post, yes, there is going to be limited quantity of stuff. It takes time. A lot of you guys out there that have watched anything or have done it yourself, you know that it takes some time. I'm not going to be able to have 7,000 jars of something tomorrow. It's not
Right.
going to happen. But I mean, just stick with us. Like I said, it's small time. It's not going to be a big thing. And I don't honestly plan on it being anything huge. It's just some stuff that I like to do personally. I enjoy, I guess the time, the time, the experimenting, and I guess the little bit of science that goes into it. I enjoy that kind of stuff. So it's just something I like to do.
So, I don't know about you guys, but here in Ohio, trapping season starts November 10th. We also want to talk a little bit about getting ready for your season. Some of the things to do for trap prep, whether that's getting your traps dyed, whether you're messing with your tension on your pans or anything like that. I'll have Tucker explain a little bit about what we do when we're prepping to get ready for the season.
A lot of my traps, I do wax, not very often, maybe every couple years. I have always stuck to dye. This year I ran just logwood dye. It's not something I do every year. Well, logwood anyway. I did instead of boiling water and all that, I did a cold dye. I have a couple of 55-gallon drums. I loaded my traps in and did it that way. But normally walnuts. I usually use walnuts to dye my traps. Like I said, I don't wax very often. I've used FMJ on 110s, 220s, stuff like that, and I don't mind using it. I have painted a few this year, not a bunch, and the reason I did so was because I have a few spots where I have very sulfur water. It's orange. I painted my traps a mild orange to blend in, just different stuff like that. And it's nothing crucial. It's not, I mean, it's probably not going to make my catch rate any better, but it was just a thought. So I did it. I seen everybody else doing some stuff like that, and I didn't go all out and pull out 700 traps and paint them all. I just kind of grabbed a few and used them here and there.
10 or 20 painted.
And another thing is like I've acquired some box traps over the last few months that I will be using for some skunk cubbies and stuff like that. Obviously I'm going to catch my coons in them, but I used it to I don't know. I guess it, instead of me buying some skunk traps or whatever they're called, the tubes there, I just went ahead and grabbed some box traps from some people and decided to go with that for this year.
Slaying nuisance jobs from box traps.
Yeah, I've been using them a good bit here lately. I do a lot of urban jobs, but I've had some rural jobs here lately, and I've needed a little more box traps. So, and just banking on that there, the nuisance work, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it is.
The setting traps is not a problem. You know, you're obviously looking for the same things, but in the end, the food is plentiful in the summer, and that's obviously not, you know, that's not something that's
going on in the wintertime.
You're looking, you know, you go bait a trap, but they have the food. Obviously, your raccoons are a little different. You know, the food source is there, they're gonna go to it, whatever. But it's just something that it can wear you down fast, running nuisance lines.
You have to handle things differently too.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
everything.
For me to like, I've been at a lady's house here lately. She feeds the cats outside, so it made things not really difficult. I mean, I knew what to do to avoid the cats, but at the same time, it comes down to, okay, I have to have a contract because I cannot guarantee you that you'll never see a coon again. You're going to. You
Right.
feed cats outside, like it's
You're
going to
see
happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I read up on all diseases. I read up on anything that can help me and can help me inform this person. And like from going from a coon to a cat is feline distemper. It's a big thing. It can happen. And she had a kitten that would honestly follow a raccoon around every night, all day long, And before it got any farther, I went ahead and got that raccoon out of there for her. But it's definitely a different ball game when it comes to nuisance trapping.
Yeah.
You cold dyed all mine this year except my DPs. They got painted. I didn't have to paint any of my DPs this year, Fleshner. Most of mine are still pretty good, and then I just picked up a bunch of brand new ones. I don't know, a couple months ago. So all mine are good for this year. They usually last me a few years without having to get painted. So,
another thing to talk about for getting ready for your season. I mean, obviously, like we talked about, getting your traps and stuff ready, but scouting your areas is a big thing too. And I mean, I'm guessing a lot of you guys do that. I mean, you should if you don't. It's always easier to come in day one knowing where things are coming from. So, and that's the thing we do quite often. Luckily, a lot of the places we trap, we drive by them frequently, anyways. So, I mean, we'll be driving home from work or something, and okay, let's go up here and see what's going on. Being able to tell where things are coming from and knowing, like I said, I mean, November 10th, we have a 60-mile line to set. Few hundred
traps. Starting November 10th, which will be November 9th at midnight, we're going to go out and set some traps at midnight. I've done it before, but it was a few years ago. So this will be my first time doing it actually as a trapper myself. I've always, for the most part, I mean, I was younger, I went with my brother, but it's definitely going to be something different. But like I know Iowa can pre-stake, so that changes the game a little bit, and that little bit helps in the long run. But yeah, we're not going to have everything set. It'll probably take us a good 4 days to get everything set.
But scouting your properties is a big thing that helps that.
Yeah.
We're going to go into our properties where we're setting, and we know exactly where traps are going to be.
Yeah, and we know what we need.
Exactly.
So far, like in the trap shed, we have, which I was out there today dicking around, but I had a few different buckets set up, and I knew in my head, in general, I might need a couple more, whatever, but I decided on these buckets, like, okay, this one is going to this property. This bucket will go here. This bucket goes to this property. And I'll have, my, let's say 3 or 4 coyote traps, 9 DPs, some 220s, some 110s, whatever the case may be, some 120s. And it just makes things a little easier. Now, I don't know about you guys. As a longliner myself, we will start the farthest away from the house, obviously, first, and work our way back. Now, I try to go to a property and hammer it out, and then pick my traps up, move forward. Even though I have most of the rest of my line set, we just slowly incorporate those traps into the property we have already set. Now, that being said, it gets mind-boggling sometimes. The back of the truck is disgusting. There's stuff everywhere.
We're getting a utility bed.
And I'm working on I'm just gonna buy a truck that has a complete utility cab on the back. It'll be a lot easier.
We were talking about just taking our work trucks for the trapping season.
And nice bits. I mean, working like that, it's productive, but it's a mess. Yeah, so I'll never find a way to keep everything together. Doing nuisance trapping in the summertime, the fur shed is still a mess. I never get it all wrapped up. Obviously there's a good bit of stuff I can put off to the side that I know I'm not going to need. And then other stuff gets in the mix and stuff gets drug out. It's a long process and everything's just always a disaster.
Yeah, definitely is. Let's talk about some of our goals for this year. I think we have them written up on our board in the garage.
Yeah, but the board's in the garage.
Here, I'll go grab that real quick.
And
I'll just go take a picture of it.
We have some goals on there. Not everything's set in stone, but and not everything's what exactly I want. Obviously, some of those numbers I'd like to bump up, but at the same time, I plan on running an even bigger line next year, so I'm trying to hold off on some of the stuff like coon. I'm not going to be pulling as many out this year as normal. I'll probably release a lot of larges like I did last year, XL cooning up, I'll bring home, stuff like that. But I set the only reason we set goals is just to try to meet them. It's not because I'm trying to catch up to somebody else or somebody else has goals and I got to set mine a little higher. No, we do it because it just
and we
pushes
keep them reasonable too.
Yeah, reasonable goals.
Like goals that we know, okay, these are very possible to reach. And I'm looking at these goals too. We've probably spent $1,500 in traps since we've made these goals too. So, but this year we have 20 coyotes down, 10 fox, 200 coon, 300 rats, 40 beaver, 20 mink, and we want to try to get at least 10 skunks this year, which we think is very possible.
And even with that, honestly, we could probably double the numbers.
Especially with coyotes. I think
we have picked up a bunch of traps since then and properties. So things changed a little bit. And honestly, I just picked up another property Saturday. So,
our three main things we really want to try to hammer this year is going to be coyotes, coons. We're going to hammer rats just because of the places that we trap. And we really want to try to put a mark on some skunk this year. We have 10 down. Obviously, we'd like to catch more than that. And we more than likely will catch them and act. And these aren't counting any accidentals either. We're going to catch skunks. Catch. Yeah, we're going to catch skunks in our coon traps. It's going to happen. But these are targets. This is okay. We're going 4 coon or 4 skunk. This is what we're going for. But those are going to be our main things. We did pick up quite a bit of properties this year that have a lot of active fox activity. Where we deer hunt, they're loaded with fox. Literally loaded. But that kind of brings us into the next thing we want to talk about, our favorite type of trapping. Obviously, I know it was for me, and I'm sure it was for Tucker, but water trapping is really where we started at. It's always fun to go run your creeks for muskrats and to go run your ponds for muskrats and minks and beaver trapping when December hits here in Ohio. That's always fun to us, and that's why, as you see our rat numbers this year, 300, 400 rats this year.
And speaking of which, I know Fur Life TV posted on Facebook the other day, and said, "What is your favorite animal to trap?" Well, at the end of the day, I like them all.
Yeah, I like all for.
But I like the challenge. Like it.
Yeah, that's
and every one of them is a challenge. Don't get me wrong. But it's that muskrat hut that's 200 yards out in that swamp. Well, I want
those muskrats. Yeah.
And I'm going for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or the fox that's digging up my set every week, or you put 2-3 sets in on or 2-3 traps in on the same set to try to pull that digger, and he does it again. Like that's the kind of stuff I'm after. And at the end of the day, the dumb ones pay as much as the smart ones.
Yeah.
So I could go through and catch all the fox that I can, or coyotes right off rip, and then just get out. Yeah. If they're flipping traps, I don't care. Move to the next one. But there's sometimes I'm like, okay, I got a personal vendetta against that one, and that's the one I'm after. So until my traps are done getting dug up, that's the one I want.
And sometimes we're the dumb ones. I mean, like he said, we see a muskrat hut that's 400 yards into a swamp, and we have waders on, and it's 3 degrees outside. We get goosebumps to them, not just because it's cold, because we want to go out there and get that.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
we make our lives a little harder than what we need to sometimes. But
I posted it on the page not too long ago, but that's my favorite thing about trapping. I love being cold and wet, stinky, and
getting
tired
dirty,
and covered in mud from head to toe. Like
not a lot of stuff we have is very, I would say, vehicle accessible. A lot of it's not. 4-wheeler, can we get a 4-wheeler? Most of it, yeah, but at the end of the day, it also is kind of tough to unload and load a 4-wheeler up all day long. There are places that will have that. We can obviously run the 4-wheeler because the properties are right pretty much by each other. But a lot of stuff we do, we're walking these hills. I mean, with pack baskets and buckets. And, I mean, we talk about this one all the time. We have this pond that dam goes straight up. And last year, I mean, if you're from Ohio, we got a lot of snow and it iced up and stayed for a while. We walked all the way up to this pond. Not that far of a walk, but with that ice, I mean, we could barely even get up there. But we got up there and we're setting traps, and our bucket of traps goes sliding down the hill all the way to the road. And obviously, we still needed it. So I got on my ass and I slid all the way down the hill to the bucket into the road. And just things like that. I mean, and that's a pond specifically. That's a challenge. And that's why, I mean, that's one of our favorite ponds to trap, because, when you pull something out of there, you had some success, because it's a mess. It definitely is a mess. But just little things like that. I mean, we enjoy it. We got to make the most of it, because it does. It gets cold. It gets dirty. It gets messy. It gets tiring. But that's why we love to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we love to do it.
Embrace the suck.
Yeah, embrace the suck. Let's talk a little bit about some stuff for beginner trappers. Let's say you're a guy that's never really ran a trap line before, and you're wanting to kind of get involved and do some of that stuff. Let's go over a couple things few things you would need to start a line.
My biggest thing for beginners is it obviously depends on why you want to get involved. Is it your deer hunting property has coyotes, or is it the coons at your deer feeder, or the coons in your yard, or whatever it may be? Keep it simple. If it's coons, go buy you a few dog proofs. If it's coyotes, go buy you whatever your preferred trap is. Obviously there's hundreds of them out there.
And do your research.
And do very, very good research. I know I hit that point on every podcast about asking people what their advice would be for a new trapper, and the content is out there for you to learn. And we will have plenty of it up this year.
100%.
But you can't rely on everybody. Everybody's content is not good.
And everybody does it differently.
And everybody does it differently.
Yeah.
And I know a few people that I talk to will tell you that it's not about, okay, this guy runs this set for coyotes, this guy runs this set, and wipe it all out.
Right.
Find you a couple sets that you want to do that you can learn consistently in your yard or out in the field, whatever it may be, and get that set down. You want to be able to make that set with your eyes closed in the dark.
And that's what something like Colton was saying on our last podcast. Take 2 or 3 sets. I mean, that's really all. I mean, that man caught 100 coyotes in Ohio on probably
in
2
7
sets.
weeks.
In 7 weeks. I mean, it's I want to say perfecting almost, but I mean, obviously none of us are perfect. But getting things down like that to where you can put up numbers like that, because especially when it comes, I mean, water trapping, I mean, it's fun, but it's easy, really. I mean, you go set a 110 in a hole, and you more likely come back to a muskrat.
And that's another thing I want to kind of lead some focus to, and it's not because anybody's doing it wrong or anything like that. My thing is okay, anybody can set a 110 and shove it in front of a muskrat hole.
Yep.
It can be done. People have been doing it for years, but
there's nothing wrong with that.
No. And something that my brother had taught me, you get in the water, you go down the bank, and about every 4 foot down the bank, take your knee and smash the bank down. Make it a muddy, slick mess like you're making a beaver slide, and shove your trap on there. Shove your trap at the base of that slide in the water, just below water level. A muskrat cannot resist fresh mud. So they'll come into that spot. I mean, your run only has to be so big on that bank. Just make it nice, slick, muddy mess, and shove your 1.5 there. That's it. I mean, that's literally it. That's simple. I mean, you can add a little scent to it if you want. That's up to you, but you don't have to. But something like that is a complete game changer. Like I said, you can run down the bank, set your 110s on them holes all the way down, and do that, and then come through, slick the bank in some spots, set your 1.5s, and you can pull double the muskrats out of that spot. I mean, it's something so simple. There's no bait involved, no lure involved. It's mud, literally mud. That's it.
But yeah, going back to that, you walk the water, set your traps, like he said, bust down a couple slides, bust down a couple runs. But to go out and put a coyote in a 5x5 pan, that's a little different. So when it comes back to perfecting those sets and trying to make those sets, it's not very time consuming to water trap, is what we're kind of trying to say. I mean, it doesn't take a lot. You can go down, and I mean, we bust cricks out like crazy.
But it also depends on who you are.
Yeah, that's true.
I ruin my waders every year. So I'm not the water trapper I'll just say I'm not the longliner who I get to a water spot, I throw my waders on, go out, set that crick, take my waders off, put my boots on, go out, set coyote traps. No, I just leave them on. I just leave them on. I don't care. I get in my truck, I wear them, I drive with them on, I get to the next spot, I get out with them on, and I continue. That's just how I am. At the end of the year, like now, I'm like, okay, well, I need a new pair of waders, but oh well. I mean, I haven't found a pair of waders yet that really make it through serious abuse when it comes to muskrat trapping, beaver trapping. I just haven't found a very good set. But I'm also I don't like heavy insulated stuff. So
yeah, I'd rather be cold than be sweating, especially in the water. But then when you go back to hitting coyotes and stuff like that, it's time consuming. I mean, when you go put your first dirt hole in, it's going to take you a minute, especially if you've never done it before. So being able to really know how to hammer some stuff out and be able to put a set in within a couple minutes, that's going to help you in the long run, especially as a new trapper. And then obviously, if you're gonna start trapping, not only obviously your traps and your properties and things like that, but you have to be able to maintain it. One, with the time, two, with storage tools. I mean, we just had $100 order of knives come in yesterday. That there's things you need. I mean, we working on cleaning the garage out right now, so I mean we're gonna have a whole section of the garage just for furs. You have to have a place to put those furs up. Freezers are a big thing.
If you don't have the time to skin and flesh everything, you need a freezer.
Yeah, because especially as a long liner, I mean, if you come home with 60, 70 furs one day, I mean, you're not skinning all those in one night unless you really have the time to. You're going to put most of those in the freezer. And that was sometimes wild up. I mean, as Colton said, he takes care of all his stuff at the end of the year.
Skins it and fleshes it later.
Yep. Then throws them in the freezer. But being able to have access to the space to do that, because skin is not easy either. I remember the first year we ran our line, we had nails on the workbench and nailing muskrat feet to the workbench so we could skin them. This year it's going to be a little different. I mean, we got the garage set up to where we have gambles and stuff hanging. We're going to be able to knock some furs out pretty quick this year. And another thing comes back to that. If you expect to sell your furs at the fur market or a fur harvester or anything like that, you need to really learn how to skin properly. And that comes back.
Take your time.
Yeah, and that comes back to YouTube. Look stuff up. Because there are some great videos out there, especially
and depending on where you're selling your furs, you need to see how they want them.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, I know there's some places I've sold to before that like them skinned a certain way. There's other places that don't want them skinned that same way. They want them like this. So it all depends what you're catching and how they want them skinned out. And it's good. It's good to learn all of it in the long run.
You want to be able to keep your options open when you're selling those furs too, especially nowadays in the fur market. I mean, if you want to make a little bit off of something that you're trapping, you got to be able to keep it open mind and keep your options open and be able to, okay, I got to skin them this way for these people, this way for that people. These people might take them unskinned and whole. We have people that will buy those too. And honestly, sometimes we make just as much money on them as if we would skin them ourselves. But you need to be knowledgeable about that type of stuff. And I'll say Coon Creek Outdoors on YouTube. I'll say that's one good guy. I think he has 4 animals. He has a start to finish 4-step process on 4 animals, from skinning, fleshing, stretching them, and how he would send them out. So I would suggest go watch some of his videos maybe. But make sure you take your time on them, because it's going to be real disappointing when you spend all this time trying to skin these furs and you send them in and don't get anything out of them just because you tried to rush through them, didn't take your time. And that's one thing we talk about all the time this year. We really got to make sure we take our time and make sure we skin these furs properly.
Yeah, and I know a lot of guys out there who put a lot of time in their fur, and I respect it. I know what goes in, and I know the time. In the end, the skinning and the fleshing could be the easy part when it comes down to brushing the furs, conditioning the furs, and everything before you even think about selling. I know there's been years where I've skinned and fleshed and sold, or skin, flesh, stretch, dry, and sell, or do all that, plus brush them out, get all the blood, all the burrs, everything out, and then then go ahead and sell and
get more money out of it.
And yeah,
you
get a little more maybe, but they're more presentable, and
the quality's there.
It might have costed you more too. I mean,
it definitely going to cost you a little more time. I mean, I'll be honest with that. I mean, you can, how fast skin an animal and stretch it, send it out, or you can really take your time and, like you said, brush those furs out. Make sure. I always say this: if we were going to buy furs, I'd want to send mine out the way I'd want to buy them, and that's really what we've, especially these past couple of years, have focused on, and especially it's going to be a big thing this year. With especially this year's probably going to be, I would say, our biggest year within the past few years. We're definitely expanding big time this year, and then we'll also be probably doubling this next year. But just take the time. It might suck sitting in that garage until 2 a.m. You're going to be tired. But if this is what you're wanting to do and this is what you're trying to get out of it, you need to make sure that you're doing it the right way.
And if it's about the money for you,
you might as well
just leave.
You might as well message me and I'll buy you out of your traps, because you're not gonna be rich off this. I tell people a story. We were out doing a tree job and there was a lineman dropping a service drop for us, and he said he paid for his whole first year of college off of Red Fox one summer. That ain't happening anymore. It's not like that. So you're trapping because you love to do it, not because you're trying to get rich. Because if you're trying to get rich, you might as well go do something.
It's approaching here soon. We'll have 4 months of trapping season. I'll put $20,000 worth of work in and make $150 on furs. That's how it works. There's a lot of time spent out in the woods, which I enjoy. That's one of the main reasons I like being out there. I just enjoy being outdoors. I love learning animals. I love learning why they're in the area, what their focus is, why they're there. And that really pushes me to continue to do this.
Yeah, I would say that's a big thing for me too, is I like learning as much as I can about these animals. We live here on this earth, on these properties, on this land with these animals. I want to know as much about them as I can. And being out in the woods and trapping especially, and like he said, we do a lot of hunting and stuff too, but yeah, you learn a lot, and you learn more and more every time you're out there. It's one thing you can't learn everything of. You're not going to know everything about these animals. You're not going to know. If you think you've gotten to a point where you can't learn, you need to look in the mirror, because everybody can learn something new. We learn something new every day. So humble yourself to be able to learn, I would say, is a big thing too.
Real quick, while we're on here, in case I have to go, my buddy texted me and said that he might need help tracking a deer. So, I wanted to get on here real quick. I wanted to give a shout out to Dale Billingsley at Billingsley Brand Lures. Check him out. I just ordered from him. Hopefully Dale's got my stuff on the way. Yeah. I'm needing some more caster. Fleshner Outdoors, great guy. Great podcasts also. He does some really good podcasts with some really devoted people to trapping, and they're a good podcast. So I encourage you guys to go check them out. Check out Coyote Academy on Facebook. Colton Morris, he runs that there. He's really good.
Definitely a good person.
If you guys are looking for some new content to watch, Dale's also got some videos on YouTube.
That's another guy. That's a good guy to learn from, guys. Get on Dale's YouTube and check him out for sure.
Yep. Logan Xline has some great videos on YouTube. Yep. Some of his videos on Back to the Basics are great. Who else here? We got Kendall Obermeyer. He has the dog proofs. I will be running a good bit of his dog proofs. He's got some great content out there if you guys are looking for anything. If you guys are looking for some potent baits and lures, check out JC Connor or Jake Traps. There's some good stuff on there. And if you guys are needing anything, you guys can go on our Facebook page. Always check us out. Like, subscribe on here, hit that little bell or whatever. It'll let you know when we post some content. We'll keep everything updated as we go. Hopefully, we get a little caught up sometimes. But just the small things like that. If you guys are needing anything, please just message us. We're more than happy to help anybody out.
That's what we're here for.
And I mean, that's about it for me. I just, like I said, I'm waiting on this text back to see if I got to go look for a deer or not. That's usually how it goes for me. I have to look for one at 7 o'clock at night.
But yeah, just us tonight, guys. Thanks for everyone who tuned in, and for the Avid Outdoorsman. Next week.